Hey everyone, it's Teresa, and today I have some really fun farmhouse projects for you to check out, and I'm introducing you to a newer YouTuber. So let's go ahead and jump in. All right, this big sign is actually from Hobby Lobby, and I got it on one of their clearances with the intention of making it my own. I sanded off all of the lettering on the front because it kind of had a little bit of a texture to it. Painted it in the chalk paint from Waverly plaster, one of my favorites. And now I am going to add this transfer from Chalkator. This is like one of their gigantic transfers. This one is an 18 by 18. I believe it is called like farmhouse tile, farm charm tile, something to that effect. I'll have it listed for you in my description box. I'm taking the paste in the color Black Velvet, and I was like, opened up my jar and I was like, holy moly, I am almost out of this one. I was like, can I make it work? And I did. Spoiler, I did. I am applying it onto my transfer with my, this is considered a small squeegee. It's not very small, but it's okay. They actually do make a bigger one, and after this project, I am contemplating buying it. Now, as I was doing this, I was like, I really should have peeled up some of that transfer as I went. I do end up doing that in just a moment, and it is okay. See how it started to get a little bit more worn looking? That is because the paste is actually starting to dry on top of the screen silk screen stencil. So that is why you want to peel it as you go, and then you lay it back down. I'm gonna have a video coming up soon that kind of goes into a lot more like intricate stuff of Chalkator and how to do things. So keep an eye out for that. That'll be coming out in the next couple of weeks. And now what I'm doing is I'm taking that same transfer and I am going to just line it up ever so cautiously. They actually are way easier to line up than you would think. And then I'm going to smooth it all out just like I did before, and I'll add on the rest of that tile. Same kind of method as I did before, except this time I'm taking a mini squeegee, just so I am a little bit more careful. And I definitely should have smoothed it down a lot more. It's kind of hard because I have like that angle right in there on both of the sides of that sign. But it is okay. It's going to come out a little bit messy in one spot, but I just cleaned it up actually with a little bit of paint just so I can get the same like fairly consistent look. See, you can see it a little bit, but that's okay. Now on this one, this is just a scrap piece of wood, and I am taking a Cricut decal that I have cut out on my Cricut, and I'm using some torch paste. Now this particular Cricut decal I actually designed on my own. I'm gonna have my Etsy shop listed below if you want to go check it out. Once it's dry, I do peel it off. It was a bit messy, so just make sure you brush off any excess of the paste that kind of gets all over the place. And I am taking a heat gun. Now this is one of the more industrial, not really industrial, it's a real heat gun for like your actual like garage heat gun. And I have it set with the little bit more of like a finer tip nozzle on it to really direct that heat. And I'm just going over all of the areas that I used that torch paste on. It is tinted paste, that way you can see where you're supposed to be applying your heat. And I'm going a lot slower. It is turning a lot slower than it looks. This is sped up like 3.5 times. Once that is done, I am then going to go over the rest of the wood, and I'm going to give it a more like burned look. I love the way this comes out, and of course as you're doing it you might want to do a little more, a little less. I just kind of took my time and figured out where I wanted all of the scorching and the burning to be done. If you don't want to do this with a heat gun, you can also do this with like a blowtorch or those little burners that they use for like a creme brulee or whatever. That will work for this part too. I believe with the torch paste you do have to use a heat gun though. I am loving the way it turned out though. This is kind of what happens to a person who's like obsessed with fires growing up. Not really. I wasn't like a pyromaniac, but maybe kind of close. But this is what happens when you're an adult, right? This is the adult version that is more appropriate. Next, I am going to just take a little bit of shellac and give it one coat of it. This isn't going to get handled or anything, so I wasn't worried about like the wear and tear, but the shellac is going to give it just a nice little bit of richness. You can also just leave it exactly the way it is, or do pretty much any top coat however you want. I just like that the shellac gives it some more like rich tone to it. Next, we're going to go ahead and get all of that put together. I'm going to add some magnets actually to my sign because I want to be able to switch out that little saying on there in case like for the holidays or whatever, I can just swap it out pretty easy. So on one side I did hot glue, and then on the other side I'm just going to add a little bit of Star Bond and the accelerator. I sprayed the accelerator right onto the wood, and here's how it turned out. I really love it. The fondest memories are made gathered around the table. Again, I'll have it linked all for you below. So today is a collaboration with Lisa from Lovin's the Life. And she is a fairly new YouTuber. She doesn't have a big following, but she's got some really amazing projects, and she's going to have a video to share with you today as well. I will have her channel listed for you below. I'd love it if you would go check it out. We're going to get back into our projects, and I have this little house. It is actually from the dollar spot over at Target. I'm going to start off first by taking off the little hardware on the back of it. That way it's not in the way, everything lays flat, and I am then going to start trying to take it apart. This was a little bit of a task, but that's all right. I end up adding a little bit of heat from a heat gun. That way I can get that glue to kind of loosen up just a little bit. I don't want it to go too crazy, so it's not set as high as it was like on the last project. I just want it to get warmed up just a little so that when I start to apply that pressure, it ends up coming apart without breaking. I'm also going to take my craft knife to the back side of it and try to give it almost like a little bit more of a wedge between the sides of it. I try with this little plastic, it's trying to be a Cricut tool, but it's not a Cricut tool. It's almost like a little spatula. I think I bent the heck out of it. I end up getting it though, finally. And then I am going to go ahead and paint the frame part black. And we are going to add a little decal on this front part of these panels. Of course, how traditional, can we go of home sweet home for anything farmhouse related. Now this one I just found in the Cricut design space, nothing that I in particular designed, but you can find them just about anywhere. I end up cutting it into different pieces because I want it to fit this house a little bit different. I'll of course just apply it down and shimmy off that transfer tape. You got to do it nice and slow, keeping it as low as you can when you're pulling it off. I hope that makes sense, but you never know. So then we're going to do the home sweet home part, or the home part of it on the top and the bottom. Same kind of thing. Now what I'm trying to do is trying not to apply too much pressure onto the transfer tape in any spot other than where the vinyl is, because I know that that paneling underneath is kind of, it's cardboard, and I don't want it to get pulled up. I did have a little bit of it pull up on the suite part right around that. So just if you get this kind of house or you're working something similar, be careful, take your time, and that way you don't, pull it apart. Now I am going in again with my Star Bond glue. This is not sponsored, but Star Bond, if you're watching, I would love to work with you. Same thing. I'm going to put the Star Bond glue on the inside of the frame. It's kind of got a little inset, so it goes back together really nicely. And I do use the accelerator to kind of get it working a little bit faster. Now right there in the middle, I wish I'd gotten it a little bit more centered, but that's okay. It turns out cute anyways. I am taking some of this boxwood. I have it left over from last year, and I think I got it at Walmart. I am not 100% sure. Either Walmart or possibly Joann's. I get a lot of my florals and stuff from Joann's. But I will put 2 little sprigs on either side of like the little peak in the roof. And then I'm going to take this teeny tiny little bow. I thought I had ribbon that was even more narrow than this, but I couldn't find any. So I must not have it because I actually know where all of my ribbon is right at this moment. I did a little organization video if you guys want to check it out. I'll have it listed below for you. But here's how it turned out. It's super cute. This one is probably going to my sister-in-law. She needs some stuff on her walls, and I can help her with that. I've got these mason, well, they're not mason jars, they're called preserve jars. I got these actually at a garage sale for $3. There's 3 big ones and a little holder, which you'll see in just a second. I did first do a coating of white spray paint, and then I'm going to go in and add a layer of the Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint, and it's going to give it just a little bit of a different finish. I wanted originally to do this more of like an enamel, like a faux enamel look, but after I finished painting it and I started to add the black, I just wasn't loving it. So here in a second you're going to find a little different of an option. I wiped it off, so it's probably, you can still see it a little bit, but I'm going to add just a little bit of distressing to it, even though it's technically more modern farmhouse and a lot less rustic, but this kind of still went in a little bit more of the direction that I usually do. I have some folk art chalk paint in the color Parisian gray, and I have actually mixed that with some white wax. Folk art makes that one as well. It's kind of like antique wax's, sister. So it works exactly the same way. Now when I'm adding in that paint, it is obviously going to have more of that paint feel to it. But to remedy that, I'm really excited by this. I found out you actually spritz it with a little bit of water and then wipe it off, just like you would if it was regular wax. But I mean, obviously it is wax, but it has the paint in it, so it doesn't wipe off as easily. But with the spritzing of the water, and you wipe it, and it works like a charm. Don't wipe it too much because you'll start to wipe off that linen white chalk paint. Once you kind of get to the point where you're happy with it, then you're set to go. I do end up spraying it all down with a little bit of clear matte spray paint just to make sure it's not going to go anywhere, since it is sitting in that little stand and I figured it might rub on it. I've got another just piece of scrap wood. I'm trying to get my way through the pile that I have in my garage. I'm going to spritz down my piece of wood. Now, mind you, this will cause it to bow a little bit. So if you don't want to worry about that for your project, don't spritz it down with water. I spritz it down though. This way I can get that chalk paint to really glide across the board itself. This is the Waverly chalk paint and plaster, and I'm going to give it a pretty full coat of that paint. Once that is done, I'm going to break out some of these little tiles. I got them at the Target dollar spot probably around this time last year, but I saw them recently. So if you love them, keep an eye out. It's over in the Target dollar spot section, bullseye playground, whatever it's called. And they do have a stickiness to them on the back, but it's not so sticky that you can't take it off. So it's nice to work with, and it's just you can give yourself a really fun bunch of different projects. I think last year I actually used these on the little pallets from the Dollar Tree to make coasters. If I can remember, I will link that video for you down below because I think they're adorable as coasters. Basically though, you peel it off of the little backer sheet, you put it down. Now, one thing to keep in mind, if the white and the black are not your thing, these little tiles are translucent in the clear area. They're not white in that spot. So if you want to add them to a different color, then you can do that very easily. Obviously now the black part on the tiles is black, but if the white on the black isn't your thing, you can just, pick out your own color scheme. Once you've gotten the first row down, then you'll start to add on your second row. You basically just match it up and put it down, and I actually added the little backer sheet behind my project. That way it wouldn't keep sticking to the paper on my desk, because I kept having that happen, and it was like, okay, Come on now. This is getting annoying when I keep trying to move it around and it's stuck to the paper. Speaking of, do you guys like that? Do you like the paper part on here? Or do you like just the desk? The desk underneath is like a woodish look. My head's about to get in the way. I'm sorry. I tried to show you least amount of that as possible. You're just basically going to take your craft knife and just trim off all of that excess. Once that is done, I am going to actually make this I was checking it out, making sure I wanted it in a certain direction. I'm going to take a little towel rack thing. I got that from Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to put it up close so you can kind of get an idea of it. I'll have the numbers listed for you below if I still have the tag. I can't remember. I got it half off, so it's about $6 for this. And as I was looking at it when I was done and taking pictures, I was like, this doesn't stand out enough. I might have to paint the towels part in white. You guys will have to let me know down in the comments if I should paint it white. Basically, I'm just finding like the center point, trying to put it right there in the middle, and I just screw it in for now. Eventually, it'll just get screwed directly onto the wall with that little backing part too. So, on to our last project. I have this little, it's almost like a felt material. It's going to be a little bin that I'm going to put in my laundry room, and I cut out something on my Cricut and just something out of Design Space, and I am just going to add some heat transfer vinyl to it. This is called the Knot Box. It is from a company called Feel Happy. I'll have it listed down for you below in the description box, and I believe I will have a discount code down there for you in case you're interested. They did send this to me to try out, and it is actually really cute. I do end up adding a little different of a look to it though. They come with more of like a tannish brown leather straps. I end up using this faux leather black because it kind of went a little bit more with my, general appeal and look that I was going for today. But here it is though. It is just really cute. I'm going to be redoing my laundry room soon. I hope you guys liked today's video. If you are new here, if you're liking what you're seeing, I would love it if you would subscribe. Don't forget to go check out Lisa's channel. It will be linked for you below as well. And I will see you next time.